HR Demo, Analysis by Department. Session Prerequisites. Browse to our earlier videos on the HR Demo. You may want to brush up histograms, outliers and box plots before you proceed. In preparation, please have our studio open on your computer and follow along. Maximum benefit guaranteed.
Now here is what I would like to call my pièce de résistance, which is looking at departmental levels across 25 departments, mind you, all at once. And this is something that we can pull off in R in a very elegant way. Watch me do this. So I'll highlight this box plot command and run it. What do we see? One beautifully illustrated plot that contains a lot of information as to the spread of the salaries. Now I will leave it at this point for you to interpret, but all I can say is that you will have to work very hard with most other tools to pull off such a plot. For example, if I were to look at the police department, which we are talking about often, the middle 50% of the salaries occupies a rather small band. Whereas if I were to look at family and support, the middle 50% occupies a fairly large band of salaries. So you now see the differences in salaries in a visual manner. I hope you are interested enough to be able to learn how to do all of this on your own. Now, having examined these salaries, what remains are the evaluation scores. So let's go ahead and answer the final two questions. You know what they are. So for the first, I would like to get a couple of descriptive statistics, which are the mean score and the standard deviation. If I were to run it, the mean review score is about 6.5 and the standard deviation is about 1. Let's go ahead and get a histogram of these scores. So when I get this histogram, I get a fair idea of how the scores are distributed. They're distributed all the way from around say 2.5 to even as far up as 9.5. And the line that goes through the middle is the average score. Now, do you think that these scores are normally distributed? I hope by now you've developed a healthy appetite for skepticism. How would we resolve this question? Of course, with the earlier QQ plot, where for our data we now have the review scores. Let's go ahead and settle that question. Now let me go ahead and check for the normality of the scores and run it. It does take a little while to compute quantiles, but what do you get over here? The points are quite well aligned with the red line, and that tells us that these review scores are normally distributed. Now the second part of the question, if you remember, was how were the scores distributed across departments? Meaning by department, how are the scores distributed? Again, let's invoke the pièce de résistance, which is a department-wise box plot, shall we? And when I run this, I get this beautiful depiction of the spreads of the review scores by department. Do we have that amount of differences in shades? Only in color, not in the reviews. Let me zoom closer on this. Yes, there are some outlyingly good and outlyingly bad reviews by department. But if I were to look at the middle section, most departments have managed to stay within the same band for the middle 50% of their review scores. Now the time has come to answer that last and final question. You've just seen that the evaluation scores are normally distributed. Now if you had the authority in you, then as an HR manager, you could go ahead and announce percentage increments, for example, in chunks of 1 standard deviation. How does that work? You can start from the mean, which I will call mu, go all the way back to say mu minus 2 sigma, where sigma is the standard deviation. So for everyone whose evaluation lay below mu minus 2 sigma, you can either decide that their salary need not be incremented or be generous and give them a small bump of an increment. in the next block of 1 sigma, which is mu minus 2 sigma to mu minus 1 sigma, you can choose to award a certain percentage increment uniformly. Mu minus 1 sigma all the way up to mu, you could announce yet another increment. You get the picture. Now, how you've gone about this is with quantitative logic. Logic that you can explain to somebody rather than saying it was based on some qualitative considerations. We've come to the end of the demo. In closing, I must say that there is no one tool or platform that conquers everything. For a simple basic exploration, a spreadsheet can do the trick. But for a deeper dive, something more sophisticated like R can deliver much more powerful insights. Well, that's all I have to talk about today. I'll see you later.